Sean Diddy Combs is someone that everybody has been talking about lately. Some people know part of the story, some people just know a fraction of the story, and some people don't know anything about, where all this started from. But in this video, I'm going to be sharing full details, including a summary of Kim Porter's book. This Kim Porter was his ex-girlfriend, and she passed away in the process. There's a whole lot to it. Also, I'm going to be talking about this movie I watched recently, Blink Twice, and I feel like this movie is also a glimpse or part of the kind of parties that are done in this kind of Diddy's parties, or these are the kind of things that might be done in Diddy's parties. Let's dive in. Hi everyone, how are you all doing? I am the media playboy girl with the media vibes, and today's topic, guys, is something that everybody has been talking about, and I felt like I need to share my own research and talk about it here. So recently, Sean Diddy Combs is someone that has been a high profile person and has a lot of connections and power here and there, and there has been a lot of celebrities that have been close to this guy. But the interesting thing is this guy holds certain kinds of parties in his house, and it's not the kind of regular parties that you would think about. It is parties that had to do with private crazy things, psychological things, and it did not just end there. The fact that he would record them and probably use it as blackmail says a whole lot. So in this particular review, or in this particular video, I'm not just sharing the things that he did. I'm talking about someone that was manipulative, deceptive. Let's get started. So let's start with Kim's book. He writes, Kim Porter was his ex-girlfriend whom he started dating, just before he released his first album. And then they met, he fell in love with her, and they started having their thing, right? So during one of their times together in bed, he requested that she uses a toy on him. I mean, she said they've been using the toy since, but this particular night, he asked her to use the toy on him and in the wrong place. So she used it, but after then, she ran away from him, like she stayed away from him, because it was weird. Like, are you for real? When did they start, And then she said not just that, he actually bled that particular night. So she left him for a while. Somehow he found his way back to her in a concert or a show or something. And then, of course, he found his way. She said he was always very sweet with words. So he always knew how to make her feel good, be charming, and make her, forgive his wrongdoing. So he came back begging, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. I didn't mean it. I feel bad for doing this kind of thing. And then she's like, oh, okay, I forgive him, he's sweet and all. And she liked the limelight life, you get. So going back to him, after a while, the same thing happened again. He asked her to use the toys, and then it now became clear that this guy is used to this thing. So it's not just about the toys, there's something more to this thing. But she was blinded by the love, the fame, everything. Now the funny part is, when she now got upset, the guy had a way of controlling his temper initially, but he became really violent later. So she would tell him things like, he had a boss named Clive. So when he would request that she uses those toys, she would say, I mean, why don't you go to your friend Clive, let him do the job, after all he does it. And this kind of thing would trigger someone like Diddy, yeah? But then he didn't have this level of power, he didn't have this level of control over people. So he was just still starting. Now, after this particular period, apparently Mary J. Blige came to Diddy's house, one of his parties as usual, and then he now requested that she and him and Mary do a threesome. This is how their threesome journey started. Almost everybody that came to his house was always having a taste of her, a taste of him, and it became crazy. Like, even when I sat down, reading the review of the book and everything about the book, I'm like, why would somebody even still stay in that kind of relationship? It was crazy. So apart from the consistent thing, she wanted to leave, but he just found a way of always charming her back into the relationship. So the story now gets more interesting according to her book and her personal experience here. So after the consistent thing, at a point she found a vault in his house that contained clips of everybody that had come to the parties and the things that they do. According to her, the parties in quotes were just another name for orgies. So everybody that came, he had a recording of them. But at that time, she wasn't really, concerned about that. She found it crazy and silly, but there weren't enough tapes as at that time. So that part is well, she's going to come back to that part later. So in the process, she met Tupac from him, the Tupac that passed away a long time ago, that Jada Pinkett Smith is always talking about. So she met him, and then they started having a thing, and of course Diddy knew about it, so he was obsessed. It was now a thing of, why would somebody else have a taste of my woman if I didn't permit it, Because anytime they had the threesome or anything, he had to permit her to do those things. So it meant she can't cheat on him or do anything. If he finds out, it was going to be trouble. So next thing, Diddy is like, oh, Tupac, my D is bigger than yours. Why don't you bring it out and prove it? I'm sure I can make my woman come faster than you. And then Tupac is like, what's wrong with you, bro? Like, what's really going on with you? I'm not going to do this. So that was what caused the issue between Tupac and Diddy. So Diddy felt upset. People that are so power conscious, that don't make them feel less, don't argue with them, just do what they're telling you to do. So Tupac left, and ever since then, he had been on Diddy's mind. Like, Diddy was planning and thinking of ways to deal with him. So one of these days in his house, she walks in, overhearing where Diddy is talking to a guy named Jimmy, and then telling Jimmy that Tupac must not leave the studio alive that particular day. She already knew what was going on, but he saw her, and then she pretended like she wasn't hearing anything. So she was like, oh, would you like breakfast? What would you like to eat? And funny enough, this same Jimmy has also had something with Kim. So Kim, Diddy, and Jimmy, they had their own threesome as well. So after the entire conversation, she just pretended like she didn't hear anything, because she did not want him to be suspicious. So Jimmy just said, I'll get it done, and then left the house. So she just pretended like she was scared. What is she going to do? And all, yeah. Now, the next thing is going to be something shocking. So one of these days, according to, her book, right, she now said that somehow, Tupac was shot in the studio, and then he managed to find his way to the elevator. But the elevator now stopped at the floor where Diddy was, and another friend of Diddy named Chris, right? So they saw him bleed. They did not even bother to help him or call an ambulance. It was obvious that this was Diddy's plan, right? So luckily for Tupac, he was saved, and the ambulance took him to the hospital and everything. So according to what she just lost a testicle. But apart from that, he was still alive. Then another time, he wasn't happy that, Tupac was still alive. So she walked into him having another phone call, telling someone that Tupac must not leave. He likes loyalty. So if he's doing something he's expecting you to be loyal. So she heard him talking to someone else on the phone about the same thing. And then she pretended. But this time, he knew that she had heard him. So he walked up to her asking, are you fine? Are you okay? I know you heard everything. And she's like, oh yeah, but it's fine. Don't worry. So he's like, I know that you pretending like you didn't hear it and you're cool with it means that you trust me and you don't want to break my loyalty, And he actually squeezed her wrists tight. Like, this guy had so many plans and was just a very violent person. Let's continue. Now, the story gets more interesting here. In this next chapter, the book is about 20 chapters, right? So I'm just trying to summarize it, so that I don't, waste a lot of time. So the next thing was that at a point, there's this restaurant in New York then back in 1994. And in that particular restaurant, she said that before you can even have a seat there, you must be somebody, and you need to book 6 months ahead. So for the fact that Diddy could have access to it any day, anytime, shocked her. He could get anything he wanted by the snap of a finger. And there was a particular wine that they poured for him. Now imagine a bottle of wine that cost $800, and this was in 1994. That was a lot of money. So this guy was already swimming in money. His album grew. He was becoming bigger. Everybody now wanted to be associated with him. Everybody wanted to meet him to make it in the music and entertainment industry. Another funny thing that happened in this restaurant was that while they were sitting, talking and having the wine, there's a lady called Kadeda Jones, right? And this was Tupac's fiance as at that time. This was after his shooting. So she already having something with Tupac. Kadeda knew about it. There were these kind of girlfriends that were cool about it all, and they talked about everything and things like that, yeah? So they were friends. But at a point, Kadeda now actually decided to confront Diddy about Tupac's initial shooting. And then Diddy was trying to pretend like he doesn't know what's going on. What is she talking about? He's not part of it, you know. He's like, yeah, I mean, we have our issues and the guy can be this, but I don't, he knew how to pretend. So if you don't know him, you would believe him, yeah? And then there were even two guys coming at Kadeda, like, what was she trying to do to him? And he just had to signal and they went back to their seat and sat, like, that level of control. So, you know, someone tried to calm her down because everybody at the restaurant was now looking, they could hear the conversation and they could hear how she was shouting and everything, trying to confront him. So the next thing was, you know, the person had to say, oh, let's go to the bathroom, let's powder our nose. You won't believe what Diddy did. He actually got a picture. I don't know what was in the picture though, but it was a picture initially, and then he did something like under the table, he had peed on the picture and then put it on top of the wine that Kadeda was going to drink. So she now asked him, like Kim now asked him, are you fine? He's like, oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm good. And then Kadeda comes back from the bathroom and is about to drink the wine before her bodyguard comes and takes away the wine from her, like, don't drink it. Thank God she was safe. Now this gets more creepy. So years passed, you know, more men came into the picture, more men that Diddy was having something with, you know, and these are top celebrities. Like, it's still shocking, the people's names that are involved. So I'm going to be talking about it as I'm talking about the story. So one day she wakes up and then she finds Jada Pinkett Smith beside her in bed. Like, where did you come from? Ha! Gosh. Then apart from that, she came out of the room and then she saw Will Smith walking out of Diddy's room and somebody else whom she now described as X. So I think this person is a more powerful person or someone that is at the same level with Diddy, and she did not want to mention the person's name as at then, yeah? So next thing, she now overhears where Diddy and X is talking about the fact that he can't protect everyone, you know, he's only protecting those that are loyal to him. And he can't protect anyone that is not 100% loyal to him. So anybody that is 80, 60, even 99, he's not going to protect you. And then before you know it, the conversation got to the part where he now started telling the ex person, I'm suspecting someone, but I don't want to say the person's name. So she overhears where, you know, he's telling X that he is going to cut off Biggie. Now Biggie is the same Chris from the very beginning when Tupac was shot, yeah? And then all of a sudden, why are you cutting off someone that has been with you from the beginning of this journey, you know? So it's like crazy. And then X is like, well, I know you can do anything. You know, I'm a loyal, trusted friend, right? So I can do anything for you. And that was how this entire plan became, like, this entire conversation got more creepy. So as he was talking about Biggie's death and Biggie's unaliving, you know, he was saying, I mean, I meet this guy. This guy should be worshiping the grounds that I walk on, not trying to leave the brand and go and start his own thing. I mean, this happens in the industry, but you now wanting to hold on to people is another crazy thing. So things just became creepier. She didn't want to be part of this anymore. So she left him, you know, years passed and all that. But he wasn't willing to let her go. You know, when somebody already knows a lot of your secret, they won't want to let you go easily. And at the same time, they won't want to hurt you just yet. So one day, you know, he calls her telling her, oh, he has to date some girl that is a video vixen because of certain things, people that are in power and all that. So she's like, why are you telling me? Like, I'm not interested. Initially, she felt jealous, you know, but after everything, she was like, why does she care? I mean, she knows the kind of person that he is, and she wasn't going to be associated with that life. Meanwhile, they already have a kid named Quincy, and later on in the story, they also had another child named Christian because she wanted a Christian child that wasn't going to be part of all these things. Mind you, Diddy also had something with the child, their own child. He saw that she's not jealous or anything, and she's like, leave me alone, I'm not interested. Next thing, he shows up at her doorstep. Guess what? He shoves her down and then pulls out a gun and then, you know, tries to threaten her. And, you know, she's scared, she's crying and all that. So after they've had the argument and all that, he now tells her, oh no, do you think I was going to shoot you? Ah, no, come on, I'm not going to shoot you. I mean, if I was going to do it, I'll do it in a very quiet way that nobody would ever suspect him. So he was actually letting her know that if he wanted to do anything to her, it's going to be through poisoning, something that is so quiet and slow that it could come off from anything. And then she was like, ah, so this person is even telling me that he can actually do this. So he was threatening her to keep quiet about everything that she knew and things like that. After that, of course, she left the house. He left the house. In the process of the entire thing, he ended up sending gifts to her, trying to calm her down, make her keep quiet and everything, and also sending flowers and sending other gifts to their son, Quincy, who was staying with her as at that time. Now, in the next following chapters, that's where everything started taking a whole new turn. So, in a particular chapter that she named A Mother's Love, right? I think this was either 12 or 13 or so, but she was focused about the love of the pain of being a mother and things like that. Now there's a lady named Miss Wallace, and then she was the mother of Biggie, because Biggie, apparently the Chris, was or unalived, sorry. And then in a restaurant, Miss Wallace walks in and then sees Diddy with her, and then she approaches him and then she's asking him for money, and then Diddy is like, oh, the attorneys, my attorneys, my lawyers, my accountants, it's not just a straight process, it has to take a while. Pulls out his wallet like he's trying to give her some cash and change, and then she's like, but this is my son's money, he has worked hard for you, I supposed to have license, or I supposed to have access to it. And he's like, oh yeah, I know that, but at the same time, it's not just something I can do, which is actually something he could do. But he didn't just want to, give the mom. So he was like, it's not something I can do, this and that. And then the mom now gets furious, like, what are you saying? You have been doing things like you have the authorities at the snap of your finger. Anything you want, you get. So which one is, you can't give me my son's money, And then next thing, Diddy is now like, oh, your son was even owing me money. You know how those kind of people can actually be. They find a way to twist everything to them even being the victim. And he's like, he was even owing me money. Yeah, I miss him, I love him, but I can't give you the money you're asking for right now, because if he's even owing me money. And then the mom is like, he's not owing you any money. You and I know he worked so hard for you, did everything for you, and he's not owing you any money. She now started asking him, are you the one that killed him? And then he's like, what are you talking about? Trying to pretend, because he's very good at pretending. He will never ever say anything. This was just how Miss Wallace got so furious after asking him consistently, and he said nothing. She walked out. According to Kim, she said she feared for the woman's life because she didn't know what Diddy would do to the woman later on. Now, let's talk about how Biggie, Chris, that's Diddy's first close friend, and how he was unalived. So what Diddy did was to get a lady named Faith Evans to pretend to love, and love and care for Biggie, right? So this lady, pretends, and just to get information about him that she could give Diddy. And in the process, I don't know exactly if it was through poisoning or unaliving or through a gunshot or something, but this was just how the access to Biggie happened, and that's how he lost his life. Faith now felt really bad because she came to meet Diddy about it. Apparently, she's also one of the girls or the people that has had the threesome with Diddy and Kim. So she came to confront him about it, was like, he didn't deserve to die. She was feeling bad. She cried, and Diddy's like, oh, don't worry, I'll take care of you. And then she's now like, you know what? I actually have a son for him. How am I going to raise a child? How am I going to do this? And Diddy's like, oh, don't worry, I'll take care of everything. Now imagine being in Kim's shoes and you're living in this house of horror. You're living in this house of everything. Like, how does someone live in this house? You naturally go insane. You would naturally feel like, am I stuck? Like she felt like, she said it was a stuck something syndrome, where you want to run, but you're afraid and you don't know what would happen. So these are the things that kept happening. So of course, Faith felt bad, and then, she just left. Now, one day she comes to see Diddy, and guess who she finds in Diddy's house? Jennifer Lopez. Ha! God, this story is so many things. So she finds her where she's confronting Diddy. I think she was pointing a gun at him and then asking him, why did he have to take this person's life? Why did he have to do this? That if anything comes, if the person that they have used to cover up Diddy's tracks, who is now arrested, opens up and tells the authorities that it was from Diddy, that she would be involved or she may be seen as a culprit. And then Diddy's like, oh, don't worry, your attorney, I know how to handle him, it's fine. According to Jennifer Lopez, in the book, that Kim wrote. She said Jennifer was like, he killed a lot of innocent people at a party and stuff like that, and then somebody else is now taking the blame. You understand? So she felt bad, and then he kept on saying, "Don't worry, I'll handle your attorneys." And then she's like, "How?" If you notice, a lot of people that are into gay activities always has backup from people that you least expect that would be involved in this kind of things. And that's why it looks as if the whole thing is beginning to become a community, is beginning to become something that they want to make it acceptable in the world. But these are crazy things. People are doing things that they shouldn't do. People are facing medical issues that they shouldn't be facing because of specific acts from these kind of parties and from this kind of activity. So later on in her book, she says that, from the time she was coming on and off, people were seeing the relationship as on and off, they reconcile, they break up, they reconcile. So one time she now discovers that, she's pregnant again, and then she calls Diddy to tell him, fearing that he'll be afraid or he'll probably do something to her. So, he comes over to her house like, "What's so urgent?" And then she says, "I'm pregnant." And then he's like, "Oh wow," he's excited. So he calls somebody on the phone. According to her, the voice sounded like Will Smith's voice. And then he's telling Will Smith, "Oh, my baby is pregnant again. We're going to have another party, gender reveal kind of party." And then next thing, he now says something like, "Oh, but it means a lot of people want to, sleep with her before the child comes out." Now imagine that kind of insensitive man that would even think of allowing his baby be used by multiple people in a party just because you want to allow, watch and allow things to happen before another baby comes out, your own baby. Like, this is a psychopath. This is a psychological problem. It's not just a thing within him. Like, I would even say it's even spiritual. He has a problem. He needs help, a lot of help. And I think maybe either somebody introduced him to these activities or this thing started from childhood, but definitely something was wrong with Diddy from the onset. So, she's like, "I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sleep with multiple people when I'm not going to sleep with multiple people, not when I'm pregnant." And then he's like, "No, not everybody, maybe just Will, Jada, J-Lo, and a couple of others, And she's like, "No, of course, gender reveal happened and everything happened, and of course, everything is taped, right?" So at the end of it, she's at that point where she's tired, she's giving up, she's no longer interested in being a part of that life or being a part of the entire thing that they have been doing here. So after she gave birth to the child, Christian, right? So in the process, she wanted to go back into acting, a movie and all that. So there was a producer that she met at the restaurant who had sent her flowers. And then Diddy comes into the house and sees the flowers. And this was in her house, not in Diddy's house. So he's so furious, he's so angry. And then he does a lot of things to her, screaming, shouting. And she's explaining, "I didn't sleep with anybody. I just met a producer." So he beats her up. He's like, "I'm telling you, you can't be with anybody if you cannot be with me." Like, this was a real threat. And you can only be with somebody if I approve that you have a one-time thing with them, but not that she is now free to have a relationship. Like, that was his own message to her. And then she got tired. So in the process of the argument and him being abusive and things like that, he uses a chair and hits her. The only thing she remembers is that she woke up in a hospital and found herself in a private ward. And the first person she sees when she wakes up is Diddy. So by the time, she told him, "Get away from me." She was like, "Get away from me, leave me alone." Even when she pressed the bell for the nurses, nobody was coming. It's as if Diddy gave them instruction, nobody should come near the ward or something. So she's scared and all, but she's like, this has to end, but she has to come up with a really good plan. 6 months down the line, she's trying to get back herself. She ended up not getting a role in the movie. And then now heard that the producer died all of a sudden because of pneumonia. Yeah. Not just that, every other guy that she was trying to have something with apparently passed away because of pneumonia. It was now becoming a pattern, and it was now becoming obvious that this was Diddy's doing and nobody else, because it did not even make sense. How would everybody I'm dating or try to date end up having the same thing and all of them end up passing away? It's not strange. It's not a coincidence. It's definitely done by someone that she knew. So the conclusion of this entire book here, so far, from everything that has been said out there, was that she wanted to end this all. Yeah. So One day, she tricked him, went to his house, they spent the night together, and then he got drunk in the process, so he was sleeping. So she went back to that original vault. You remember the vault I talked about? She went back to the vault, and then she got all the tapes. She went to her house, she was making copies, she was swapping them. She was like, she wanted to have enough evidence, because this one is something that even the authorities will have no choice than to arrest Diddy as well. So she did all this and wanted to get back at him. The shocking part of it all was that it wasn't just the older men that she knew. I mean, apart from people that she did threesomes with him, there were other people that he did with, including underage people, and that included Usher and Justin Bieber. Like, this one shocked her, and then even to see some clips with her son, she was shocked. Like, are you for real? This person is a maniac. This person is insane. So the next thing she did was she had to send copies, save it in different clouds, so that nothing will happen to them. Then one night she invites him to the house, and then her friend Kamara is there with her. So, they're just drinking wine. Then he comes, and then he's like, "Oh, so what's so urgent? Why are you calling me?" And then she's like, "Oh, okay." So she now confronted him about the whole thing. And then even Kamara is like, Usher too, Justin Bieber, like these guys were 15 years, 13 years out of then also. How would you even do those kind of things to those underage people? My question is even, how would parents allow their young kids go to certain parties overnight with those kind of strange things? So at the end of it all, he was so mad, he was furious, like, what are you talking about? Like, he was trying to pretend, but definitely he knew that she had found out everything. So they got into a physical fight, and then she threw him down the staircase because he tried to injure her. Kamara had ran away just in case anything happens to her. She knew where to call the authorities. So according to her, he left her house in the ambulance, and she thought everything had ended. Definitely that person's life would not just end like that. They would definitely want to come back with you to you hard. So finally, towards the ending of the book, she then says, she comes home one day and then sees that her house has been, like burglars came to her house and then scattered a lot of things. Probably they're trying to find the tapes, because that was his greatest fear, the tapes. So they tried to scatter a lot of things, but thank God, that she had copies and everything somewhere, yeah. So next thing, she started feeling somehow. She was not feeling well. So she calls Kamara, and she's like, "Are you sure you're not going to the doctor or something?" She wasn't just feeling herself, So she laid down in bed. Then she now started suspecting something, like maybe she has been poisoned and it's one of the drinks in her fridge. So like Diddy warned her it was going to be silent and quiet and nobody will ever suspect him. Like, I was so shocked. I was so shocked. So she calls him on the phone, and then is like, "Did you ever love me? Did you ever care about me?" And then he's like, I always told you about loyalty. Once you're not loyal to me, then you're in trouble. You could not stay loyal. I did everything. I gave you a life, why would you do this to me? Those kind of conversations. And then she's like, even for our kids, even for everything, you horrible person. Do you think it was just those things that your guys took? She has copies in different places. So this already made Diddy know that it's not just going to end it. So according to her, she said she had called 911. She was expecting the ambulance, and she does not know if she's going to make it. But if not, the book should definitely be out at a certain point. So now that the police has found more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil, I mean, this is the creepiest thing. So there's so many people, and I'm wondering why a lot of celebrities that their names have been mentioned haven't even come out to say anything, meaning it's as if maybe they sign a pact or something. Now, strangely, while I was watching one of these videos, I saw that someone had made a comment of actually attending a concert, and in the process, he found himself in a DIDDY'S party. Yeah, this person actually, I'm going to post it so you're seeing. So this person said he found himself in the party, and then he didn't know what was happening, but by the time he was late, he couldn't go back. He didn't know what to do. And he was seeing the crazy things going on. He said an angel, one of the ladies, said, if you care for your life, just follow her. So he follows her. He finds a way out of the building. He's like, "What about you?" She's like, "Don't worry, it's already late for her." So that was how he was able to escape. But the rest of the people always found themselves there. Like, if you've not met Diddy, you'll probably not make it in the entertainment industry, or probably win an award and all that. Even people are saying it was only after Burna Boy went to see Diddy that he got the Grammy. So there's so many things that would still be uncovered while this is going on. There are people that are slaves from his parties that have come out even in jail describing how crazy the parties would get. How would somebody be like this and felt power drunk? This is height of craziness. So So I've watched a lot of psycho thrillers, and the thing that puzzles me or gets me annoyed about them is, I've watched a couple of psycho thrillers like Midsummer and Blink Twice. Yeah, Blink Twice is the latest one. So I just saw, a clip from it, and I'm like, oh, this guy, I mean, I know him, from the Deadpool and Wolverine I watched. So I'm like, oh yeah, let me just see what happens. And then I'm only now getting to discover how he tricks people and then tells the girl, oh, why don't you guys join us to a private island, just to enjoy, have fun, and you follow somebody. How would you follow somebody you just met that night to a private island that you don't know about? And then they get there, they seize their phones, and then there's this perfume that they have. Once you spray it, it makes you forget. So apparently the girl had been there before, but she couldn't remember because of the perfume. And that's another kind of Diddy's kind of party. A lot of things happened there, both male and female. And then days were just going on. It was the same activities, eat, drink, swim, like living life to the point where it's beyond, it's now becoming boring. You can drink all you want, eat all you want, but you become bored at a point. Her friend was not forgetting. Her friend was suspecting something is really going wrong in this place, but she's like, I want to enjoy my life. I want my life, my life has been messed up. I just want to enjoy this holiday, not seeing the side her friend was coming from. So at a point they were not seeing her friend anymore, because her friend is always the one giving the lighter. And then she's like, has anybody seen this person? So what happened that made her remember her friend was, she just, saw this small cabin in the island, and then there was this nanny that is trained. So she kept on calling her Red Rabbit, Red Rabbit. She didn't understand why. So the nanny now told her, oh, okay, drink a little of this. She now gives her a small bottle with something inside. She drinks it. It's horrible. It's bitter. She's like, oh, what's this thing? Next thing, the nanny now opens a cloth, and she sees that it's the venom of a snake that bit her friend some nights ago. That's when she now starts remembering what happened to her friend and everything. And she's trying to let other girls know, but they're not getting it. So she pulls one of them who used to be envious of her, because the main guy was close to her. Yeah. But she pulls her, takes her to the place, makes her drink it, and then they now have to steal it and also give it to the rest of the girls so that they start remembering. So this kind of movie to me is not my kind of movie, but I just felt like, so after this happens on the island, people go back, they make them forget, and then this is how they keep on treating people and making them suffer for no reason. From this movie, this is just one out of many. If you've watched Midsummer, like it was my sister that made me watch the movie. I actually thought it was something interesting, but I realized it's the same kind of crazy things that people do out there that you won't even imagine what entices them or what makes them feel like this is interesting. But she gave me the idea of, this Blink Twice would actually suit this Diddy story. So I feel like if you've watched it, then you'll see what I'm talking about. That could even just be a fraction of what actually happens. But I like the way the movie ended, because the girl got what she wanted, and then it was a payback, because imagine going, you forgot, you now go back a second time. But guys, don't ever follow anybody you don't know. Don't trust anybody. Be careful out there. Don't spend nights in people's houses that you barely know, and like, your security is very important. Let people not even know where you're living, except like that person has known you for a long time. There's a lot of crazy things going out in the entertainment industry, and you can even see that there are lots of people that are so desperate on social media to make it and become popular that they're ready to say or do certain things just to be in the limelight. But you don't know the doors that you open. You open a door and you find yourself going deep into that road, and you cannot find your way back. So I just pray that everybody that has been a victim, they find a way to heal now that it feels like justice might be served. For those that are culprits, well, they should just start praying, because only God knows what is going to be the end of this entire thing. But it's just very sad. I'm going to actually give you guys updates when I hear more things or revelations, but I think that at that point, that's where the book ended. Yeah, because she lost her life. And now, don't forget to click the subscribe button, like and share this video, so that when I come up with a new video, you're able to see it on time. Thank you all for watching. See you next time. Until then, go find your asa. Take you from the Media Playboy.